Did I miss? Nope. Come on. Let's see. Just a minute. Almost there. Oh, come on, you stupid thing. Why is it? Now I know why it is. Finally. Let's begin. Alright. You're new to my channel, this is it. It doesn't get more exciting than this. I'm going to sit here, try and finish this doodle. And, yeah. Listen to something. I'm thinking something theory-wise. Let's see what's new to listen to. Let's see. No. This one. Sure, we'll go with that one tonight.
Activia Expert. This is what 35 years of gut health expertise looks like. An exclusive blend of probiotics and prebiotics to help support your gut health. And with 7 grams of protein. New Activia Expert, our most advanced gut health yogurt.
I don't like you at
Over 40
all.
formulas for different breeds. From puppy to adult. Royal Canin. Unique needs. Precise nutrition.
Right now, underneath grocery store shelves the world over, big wigs in smoke-filled rooms, probably, are divvying up aisles of tasty treats like they're lines on a map. And as a result of this wheeling and dealing, some of your go-to food brands might be cut out of the picture. The trigger for this monumental shift in the world of food? Breakup? Hello, Internet. Welcome to Food Theory, the show that would never break up with you. Mwah! But not everything in the world of food can be sunshine and rainbows, because for the biggest food brands in the world, there's been a lot of drama. At some point in your life, you've probably seen some variation of this graph, showing how basically every food and drink you can possibly think of is owned by one of just a handful of companies. And it's true. Over the past few decades, we've watched as all of our favorite brands have been gobbled up and funneled into these massive multinational food corporations. As time has gone on, these companies have only gotten larger and larger as mergers and acquisitions have transformed these businesses into these hulking, amorphous blobs that dominate the grocery aisle. But as of late, something has started to shift. Instead of continuing the trend of always bigger, never stop, we're starting to see these mega corporations break apart. A few years ago, cereal giant Kellogg's split its cereal and snacking businesses into 2 separate companies. Keurig Dr. Pepper also announced recently that it was planning on splitting its coffee and soda business despite the fact the companies had only merged together a few years ago. But the big breakup news that really caught my attention is the most recent one, Kraft Heinz. Kraft Heinz, makers of so many of the staple food brands, would also be going their separate ways, leading to some of your favorite snacks being torn apart. Oscar Mayer hot dogs will no longer be under the same bun as Heinz ketchup. And even Kraft Singles and Kraft mac and cheese, you know, both Kraft brands, will no longer be part of the same.
How you doing tonight, Hayden?
And the breakups don't stop there. There have even been calls from Pepsi's own investors to do the same. So all of this has me wondering why? Why are all of these companies who have spent the better part of the last century fusing into these enormous blobs suddenly finding the need to recouple more than the cast of Love Island? And what does this mean for you and me? How will these seismic shifts in the movers and salt shakers of the food industry affect what we can buy when we walk into a Walmart? That's what I want to uncover today. So pile into my cart, loyal theorists, as we browse the aisles of knowledge to find out why is big food breaking up.
I am doing eyeballs. I have a for the month of October, my local gallery or local museum is putting in a little gallery display for like a Halloween haunted October theme. So they're asking for 3 pieces. So this is one of them. It's going to be called Paranoia. And I really don't have any imagination for original things. So I'm just going to doodle up some horror themed ideas. I tend to try and get things perfect, even though I'm trying to make them more like abstract. And I don't like this marker, so that's another thing. It's too big, but it's like the only one in town. So I prefer like the medium size, and there just isn't one. Well, there is one. I just don't want to pay $22 for it. Actually, about 25 with tax. So. But I just need to get used to this one. And I hate getting used to new things. Hey Steve, how you doing? Oh, I should crack a window. Oh, get the hang of this. And I figured out what my third piece is going to be. I just don't know if I'm going to have time to get it done. Either way, I think I'm a place to sell these in the city at a more, wider market. I didn't have my pink again, that's okay. Alright, back to audio.
Hello, loyal theorists. We've been working on something special for you. We saw your comments and heard your feedback.
Thank you so
we put our
much.
heads together and had a lot
How are you
of
doing tonight?
extremely serious conversations.
I need
And we are
some better
finally
background
ready to
noise.
let
I
you
don't
know
have anything right now. At least not audio-wise. One thing I learned when I first started doing art is you don't have to be good. All you have to do is try, and then people think you're like, oh my god, you're so amazing. And yeah. It's the effort they admire at the end of it. Like, skill is one thing, yeah, but I mean, you could also do folk art. So that's a style of its own, and people love it. Which is kind of what I do. Somewhere between folk art and whatever the hell I do. What time zone are you guys in? It is almost 9 here. Oh, hang on, that's my mommy. Hello. I'm in the basement doing artwork and trying not to get high off the paint fumes. I can't. It's so dead. Not too bad. I got the referral to the doctor added to the to-do list. So, and that's pretty much all I had to do today. Yeah. City drugstore? No. It's gonna be up. Yeah. Where the old alcohol store used to be. Yeah, the old liquor store. Yeah. I don't remember. I wrote it down. We're not doing it Monday. It's the 1st, and the 1st is not Monday. What was that again? Yeah, something like that. It's later in the week. Alright, we'll get your nice teethy done. All right. All right. Yep. Good night. Love you too. Sorry about that. Say good night to my mommy. Please, I'm new here. Can you talk more about your art? It's almost 2 a.m. here. Hardest thing for me is finding ideas. Pinterest. I'm going to send you to Pinterest for ideas. I've come to the conclusion long ago there's no original ideas, but there's like different mixes. Like you can, like I'm not the first one to paint random eyeballs on a red background. I will not be the last one to do such a thing either. But I will not be able to do it the same as anybody else. Sometimes I do a lot of copy. I'm definitely a mimic. I'll see stuff on Instagram or Facebook, and my brain goes, I must make this. And I'll make 2 or 3 of them before I'm like satisfied, and then I'll go on to something else. But I also consider those times to be like not training but practice. So I already smudged this one.
That's right, we are so back! Theoryware has returned, and this time the gang's all here. Get ready for new shirts, new hoodies, and new accessories featuring all 5 channels in the Theoryverse you know and love. No matter which channel's your favorite, GT Live, Style, Game, Food, Film, Food, you're represented here. And who knows, I've heard Theoryware can be a great conversation starter. Maybe you'll make new friends with a fellow theorist next time you're out and about. Or maybe wrap yourself in a super soft theorist hoodie paired with some cozy socks while watching new episodes in the comfort of your home. We hope you'll have as much fun with the new and improved Theoryware as we did. Jump into the comments to let us know which item
isn't as fine of a point as the other one, and I don't like that. Ever even trying to make things that oh yeah, definitely. I could never make a Mona Lisa, but doesn't mean I won't try to make a Mona Lisa at some point.
We should probably start by figuring out what it means for a company to break up. Was there some sort of infidelity? A big fight? Did Jeremiah really love Bomb Huda? To answer those in order, no, and definitely not cutting that one. That's not to say that some of these breakups don't lead to hurt feelings, but we'll get to that. So in order to understand what actually happens when a mega company breaks up, let's look at the example of Kraft Heinz, since they're the latest food giant to announce a split. Kraft Heinz's plan is to create 2 brand new corporate entities. From there, they'll take all of the brands in their massive portfolio and funnel them into one of these 2 new companies. Now, you might be thinking that means Kraft will be Kraft and Heinz will be Heinz and never the twain shall meet. But no, they're not splitting up by brand. They're splitting up based on growth. One of these companies, temporarily called Global Taste Elevation Co. Doesn't that make the old stomach rumble? Will take all of the lucrative sauces, spreads, and seasonings, as well as shelf-stable meals. These are things like Heinz ketchup and Philadelphia cream cheese, as well as Kraft mac and cheese.
Wish I had Sharpies here too. This is the Sharpie paint. I prefer the medium. Unfortunately, I could only purchase the bold, so we're just improvising as we do.
And yes, as I mentioned earlier, Kraft Singles will now be separated from its brother in cheese thanks to this divorce. But why divvy up the company like this? It makes sense when you take into account that these companies will not just have different brands, but totally different business models. The Sauces and Spreads company will have a global focus, attempting to grow and spread into as many markets as possible as quickly as possible. Like the Joker said, rip my boy Heath, aggressive expansion. Meanwhile, the grocery company will focus solely on the North American market, where they already have a dominant footprint, and will instead emphasize becoming more efficient and making slow but steady growth. And while all of that seems convoluted, because it is, it's not the first time a company has chosen to split up like this. Back in 2023, when Kellogg's bifurcated into 2 companies, one of the new companies, WK Kellogg, took control of the legacy North American cereal brands, like Corn Flakes and Fruit Loops. Meanwhile, the other company, Kellanova, took ownership over the lucrative, global-focused snack brands like Pringles and Pop-Tarts. But what made the Kraft-Heinz breakup so unique is just how spectacularly awful the marriage had been in the first place. You see, Kraft and Heinz had only recently come together around 2015, and when the two companies fused, all signs pointed to this being Gogeta levels of awesome. The merger of the two food giants was mostly spearheaded by one man, the Oracle of Omaha, Warren Buffett. And if you don't know who Warren Buffett is, he's basically the single most prolific and successful investor of all time, currently sitting as the 10th richest person in the world with a net worth of nearly $150 billion. And in the process, he developed his stellar reputation of always betting on safe, reliable investments. And so, when Warren Buffett is the one heading up the merger of two of the biggest food companies in the world, with decades of brand loyalty, allowing both companies to become more efficient and have a bigger market share, people thought, what could possibly go wrong? And it turns out, everything. Despite seeing an initial surge post-merger, ever since 2017, Kraft Heinz's stock price has fallen off a cliff, losing over 70% of its value since its high. And the situation had only become more dire recently as they reported that their total revenue had
you have a good night too, sparkling water.
In business speak,
Stop by anytime. I try to live stream regularly anyway.
Largest companies in the world into one super entity turned so south so fast. Well, in an ironic twist of fate, the main problem that Kraft Heinz ran into was the fact that it became too big. You see, when a company gets to the size and scale of something like Kraft Heinz, instead of being this towering titan, it ends up becoming this lumbering blob that becomes too slow to make quick or big decisions. You'll be familiar with this if you've ever tried to organize hanging out with your friends. Two people can plan a multi-week long vacation with ease. But have you ever tried getting 7 people to just agree on where to go to dinner? It's a nightmare. Bigger does not always mean easier. Now, imagine being a company with over 200 brands across 55 different categories, spread over 150 countries. Yeah, it's gonna be hard to make any meaningful changes. There's only so much time and resources available. And so, when a company gets as large as Kraft Heinz, they're forced to focus their efforts on brands and products that will generate them the most profit quickly. I mean, someone has to look out for the poor, helpless shareholders. And so, by Kraft Heinz's logic, by splitting the company in two, each individual company can focus their attention and resources on a smaller pool of brands and be better able to adapt to the differing challenges that each one faces. For example, while the sauces and spreads business might need to focus on getting Heinz ketchup on shelves in more and more countries, the grocery business can instead focus domestically. Since Oscar Mayer already has full market saturation in the US and Canada, they can aim to cut costs and try to compete in the hyper-competitive North American market. But, of course, I've been around the block a few times. I've seen companies make these sorts of moves, promising to increase profits and innovation. So, I gotta ask, who really benefits from this sort of corporate unmerger? I mean, at this point, isn't it obvious? It's the shareholders. Will no one think of the shareholders? With Kraft Heinz stock in the toilet, something has to be done to turn things around, or some investment bank.
Whew! I need to open a window.
And nobody wants it. All kidding aside, it's not like Kraft Heinz is keeping this a secret. In their press release announcing the breakup, they said that one of the big rationales behind the split was to increase shareholder value. It also makes the idea of investing in these
Activia Expert. This is what 35 years of gut health expertise looks like. An exclusive probiotics and prebiotics to help support your gut health. And with 7 grams of protein. New Activia Expert, our most advanced gut health yogurt.
In order to survive winter, the fall lawn searches for food. Scott's turf and the fall lawn food is essential for building strong roots.
because life is just so hard and complicated for them as it is. But in the case of Kraft Heinz, if you're interested in a company with high growth potential, a real high risk, high reward, the sauces and spreads company is the clear option. But if you're interested in a company whose business is focused more on slow but reliable growth, then the grocery company would be a very Buffettian investment. And yes, I did just coin and trademark that. And speaking of Buffett, as the architect of the Kraft Heinz merger, you shouldn't be too shocked to hear that he's not the biggest fan of the inevitable breakup. Although he does agree that in hindsight, the merger was probably a mistake. He also doesn't believe that breaking breaking up will solve any of Kraft Heinz's problems and could open them up to even more risk. But despite his reservations and despite owning over a quarter of the entire business, the breakup of Kraft Heinz is moving forward. So it is happening, folks. And unsurprisingly, splitting up the assets of a multinational food conglomerate is going to have some effects on, the food. So the real question is, how will this breakup affect us, everyday consumers? While I do like corporate restructuring and stock price fluctuation as much as the next guy, no, seriously, I actually find this stuff super fascinating. But let's be real. At my core, I'm a food guy. And so what I really want to know is how all of these corporate breakups and shakeups are actually going to affect my favorite treat. Will some of my go-to snacks end up disappearing from the grocery store shelves? Or will everything remain the same and this will all have amounted to nothing more than a corporate shell game? Well, that depends on how the new companies spun off from these breakups react to the real cause of their stunted growth, the consumer. That's right, the thing that these amorphous corporate blobs got too big to effectively adapt to is the ever-changing consumer. As one example, take the near infinite amount of variety of products we see nowadays. I mean, who exactly is asking for Selena Gomez flavored Oreos? I know I'm not. Hot take, the only flavors of Oreos we actually need are double stuff. No, that's it. And it seems the bigger the corporation gets, the more they think that consumers want a never-ending well of variety that, I'll reiterate, no one asked for. One more time for the people in the back. No one asked for! I mean, sure, the occasional limited-time Coke flavor is fun. Bring back Oreo Coke, you cowards. But do consumers actually want original Heinz ketchup? Heinz with no artificial sweeteners. Heinz with no salt added. Heinz with a blend of veggies. And Heinz organic certified? And each new product or SKU, as the biz kids call it, that you bring to market requires more marketing, more factory time, more complex supply chain. All that serves to do is to drive up the cost for products that may or may not be what consumers are actually clamoring for. And sure, corporate blobs are the only companies large enough to even attempt putting out this many varieties. But just because they can doesn't mean they should. That's why one of the big things that consumers may be able to look forward to when it comes to these corporate breakups is the decrease in the sheer number of products being sold, opening up shelf space for new innovative products to fill those gaps. Another thing that consumers may be able to rejoice in with these newer, smaller companies is the fact that these companies may now be able to listen and adapt to not only what sorts of products they make, but what those products contain. It's no secret that we as a society over the past few years have become way more conscious about the ingredients in our food and more cognizant about what we allow in our body. As a result, products that are too high in calories, sodium, or contain high fructose corn syrup haven't done well in the court of public opinion. And let's be honest, the sorts of ultra-processed foods offered by these big companies are exactly what consumers seem to be gravitating away from. I mean, take the artificial food dyes as an example. In our episode on the subject, we talked about how big companies like Kellogg's and General Mills tried to remove artificial dyes from their food years ago, only to reverse course when fans weren't happy about it. Fast forward to today, and it feels like the opinions on artificial food dyes have completely turned, and they're almost universally on the way out here in the States. And I would like to think we had something to do with that. But therein lies the problem. These massive corporate blobs are just ill-equipped to handle how quick public sentiment can change on the dime. They operate on the speed of quarterly earnings reports, not
Thank you.
stock trends. Therefore, theoretically,
Sorry, just to saw you. I need my
down
eyes to look at
should
things
be
other
able
than
to
the
put out
chat, so
products
sometimes it
that
takes me a minute to notice that anybody's in here. How are you tonight?
And you know what else consumers really care about? Rice. Yep, what discussion about big mega corporations and food would be complete without discussions of inflation? Woohoo! But in all seriousness, let's look again at a company like Kraft Heinz. Like many food brands, Kraft Heinz did moderately well during the pandemic as most of us stayed home, snacked, baked, fun COVID stuff. However, post-pandemic prices for Kraft Heinz products only continue to rise thanks to a mix of supply chain issues and, of course, corporate greed. I mean, a 14-ounce bottle of Heinz ketchup costs almost $3 today. Meanwhile, Walmart's Great Value brand is just under $1. And let me tell you, Heinz is is not 3 times better tasting to justify that price. And frankly, the super large corporate blobs just haven't had much of an incentive to try and drive costs down. They raised prices and people still bought them. But now we have had enough. More budget-friendly consumers gravitated towards generic or store brand options. Meanwhile,
I
customers
can't
with
reach.
a little bit more money to spend decided to splurge on more premium brands with supposedly healthier, locally sourced ingredients. So let's take Kraft Heinz again as an example. Specifically, that slow-growth grocery business they're spinning off. Without the high-margin sauces,
That's an eyelash right
lying on the
there.
shelf, the grocery side of the business will be forced to keep the cost of their wieners low in order to stay afloat. With all that being said, there's a lot of reasons to be cautiously optimistic about these big food breakups. And I did say cautiously optimistic, because even if everything goes exactly the way that Kraft Heinz hopes, with profits in both of their new companies soaring, that ironically may end up bringing everything back to square one. Just ask Kellogg. As I mentioned at the top of the episode, back in 2023, Kellogg's went through a very similar corporate breakup that saw them split their snacks and cereal divisions in two. And you know what? It worked. Both companies ended up seeing improvements in their business. Almost too much improvement. Because in August of 2024, the snack side of the business was bought for $35.9 billion by candy mega giant Mars. And just this past July, the cereal side was bought for $3.1 billion by Ferrero Rocher. So yeah, the corporate blob that was Kellogg's split in two, only to have each half get reabsorbed into another blob just a few years later. But you know what? Even if that doesn't end up happening to Kraft Heinz or Keurig Dr. Pepper or Pepsi if they go down the same route, the writing may already be on the wall. Big Food may have already lost the war to an enemy nobody saw coming. You see, when we think of these humongous multinational food and drink corporations, we tend to think they're unstoppable, that they're very much the apex predator. However, when the CEOs of Coke or Kraft Heinz or whoever lay their head on their pillows at the end of the day, there are companies far bigger than them that keep them up at night. And let's just say they offer customers a great value. That's right, we're talking about store brand. We already touched on this a little bit earlier, but cost has increasingly become a big factor for consumers when deciding which sort of drink and snacks they're gonna buy. So it should be no surprise that customers would rather buy the $1 great value ketchup from Walmart than pay triple the price for what is more or less the exact same product. And no matter what they do, even if splitting up their companies works perfectly and they're able to drive costs down for consumers, let's be honest, when it comes to cost, they're never going to be able to compete with the likes of Walmart or even Costco's Kirkland brand. We think of Coke and Pepsi as these massive companies, and they are, but compared to Walmart and Costco, they're small potatoes. Forget all of Costco. If the Kirkland brand alone was spun off into its own company, it would bring in more annual revenue than Kraft Heinz or Coca-Cola. That's the sort of difference we're talking about here. And since Walmart and Costco make ungodly amounts of money every year, and because they own the stores, they can afford to always make sure their price is at bargain levels, even if it means cutting into profit or even taking a hit. Costco hot dog combo, anyone? And that is where Big Food is really in trouble. Because as the old adage goes, once you go generic, you don't go back to the name brand Eric, or however it goes. Once customers have jumped ship and realized that generics are worth it considering their price tag, no amount of corporate reshuffling or brand reinvestment is gonna bring them back. I guess it turns out the only way to beat the unstoppable multinational corporate blobs of the food industry were even bigger and blobbier, multinationalier corporate blobs. But hey, that's just a theory. A food theory. Buen provecho. And if you think that creator-made products also have a chance to dethrone corporate blobs, click the video on screen to find out why YouTuber products are seemingly always doomed to fail. And as always, I'll see you next week.
Have you ever walked down the sunscreen aisle and been overwhelmed by all of the options? Oil, lotion, spray, gel, stick, and even milk? By the end of today's episode, not only will you know which one of these is worth the money, but which of these so-called sunscreens is a ticking time bomb of pain that you should avoid at all costs. Hello, Internet. Welcome to Style Theory, the show that's ready to answer one of life's burning questions. What kind of sunscreen works the best? If you missed it, last year we proved that sunscreen was in fact good at protecting your skin from the sun, despite what some people on TikTok might tell you. Matt still has the checkerboard pattern to prove it. But proving that it works was only step 1 in our skin protection master plan. Step 2 is taking it to the next level by pitting 8 different forms of sunscreen against each other in a head-to-head battle to see which will come on top. Or, as we should probably call it, a leg-to-leg battle. I'm wearing my experiment shorts. These have seen mighty tests in their day, and so for today, we're gonna do another one. I'll be putting my ghostly white legs on the chopping block once again and giving myself a potentially permanent pair of stripes. Consider it a Style Theory host rite of passage. You'll have to stay tuned to the end to see if we get some nice crispy lines. I'm going to be taping up my legs, then I shall sit in the sun in my lovely little lounge chair at the lovely pool where hopefully my neighbors won't come and see me as I am right outside some people's window. And don't say I didn't come prepared. I had the perfect pair of shoes for this occasion. And look, I wasn't lying. I am part of Croc Nation. I got some Style Theory blue ones just for this channel. Don't worry, Chad. I won't be leaving these out in the sun to dry, but I will be separating my legs into 4 quadrants each for this test. On our right, from knee to ankle, we have our lotion, stick, spray, and gel. On our left, we have whipped, spritz, oil, and milk. We will be following the instructions on the packaging to a T and using exactly the recommended amount per type. Easier said than done for some of them. That Chardonnay oil is slippery. To keep things even more consistent, all of our options are going to be from the same brand, Vacation, who are, at least according to their marketing, the world's best smelling sunscreen. Yes, best smelling. Which, I'll say right now, I believe it. It smells so good, and by keeping it to one brand, we can eliminate as many variables as possible. The only one it can't, SPF. However, as we learned last time, once you go over 30 SPF, the difference is pretty negligible for a short period of time. So, as we are capping our day at 4 hours, with hourly check-ins along the way, it will not affect our results today. You may have noticed that this time around, we don't have a skin control. And that's because we learned another thing from Matt's last sun adventure. Safety. Did I not just mention that he still has the checkerboard? That is some real damage. Tanning beds are no joke. According to the Skin Cancer Foundation, using a tanning bed can increase your risk of skin cancer by 83%. In fact, more people develop skin cancer from tanning beds than develop lung cancer from smoking. So count this as your tanning bed PSA. No tanning beds this time. I happen to have another card up my sleeve, and it's UV activated. UV exposure cards let you see how much UV radiation is hitting it. It works basically like those sunscreen stickers that let you know when to reapply. As the sunscreen wears off, that little dot at the center of our card will start to turn purple. The more purple we see, the more the UV radiation is making it to the dot. We're going to cover them with the same sunscreens as my legs, leaving one bare for our control. This gives us a safer yet equally informative test.
I kind of like it a little bit more than the other one, but also don't.
They would have been great to have last time, but that's what Matt gets for playing an episode all by himself when I was on vacation. Speaking of, I had one other goal for my outdoor excursion. Relaxation, baby. Your girl has not had a true vacation since last year. So why not use this as an excuse to take
I remember my last true vacation.
Relax by the pool for science.
Is that your engagement ring? He was always up to something. Such a larrikin. I said yes before he could even speak.
I hate commercials.
For science. I'm just gonna sit here with all of my sunscreen and work. That's what a theorist vacation is, isn't it? Working, even though you're meant to be relaxing. I'll be taking my meetings and writing my scripts in the sunshine. gonna bet you that no one is gonna even know my mini staycation happened until this episode comes out. If you think I'll get away with it, click that subscribe button and join the Style Theory staycation. There's plenty of sunscreen to go around. Now, while I sit back and bake in the hot, hot LA sun for our first hour, let's talk about what we are about to witness happen to my skin. Depending on the amount of melanin your body can produce, your skin's reaction will be slightly different. Melanin is the powerhouse of the skin cell, as it absorbs excess UV light and helps to protect the rest of your skin. When your body produces more melanin, it will tan and gain more color. And when it can't produce enough, it will burn. That's pretty standard. And so you know, even people with a high amount of melanin will burn without proper sun protection. However, how your skin reacts and the amount of melanin your skin can produce can actually change over time, at any time. It's actually what happened to me. As a kid, whenever I went out in the sun, I would tan pretty easily, at least until I was around the age of 10 or 11, when suddenly I could only go from Casper the Friendly Ghost to Mr. Krabs and back again. It was like getting the world's lamest superpower. Burn girl! You don't get burned, she does. It sucked. But while researching this episode, I found out that it was actually much more common than any of us may realize. Melanin is produced by cells called melanocytes, and if those cells get damaged, it can actually change how your body produces melanin. One way this can happen is being exposed to too much UV radiation, like say from a really, really bad sunburn. I can tell you, did happen to me around age 10 after a summer trip to Blizzard Beach with my family. It was not pretty. Ever since, I stopped tanning the way I did for the first 10 years of my life. Now, I can infer that that's the reason, but sometimes it is just a matter of the genetic lottery. For example, about 1% of the population has an autoimmune disorder called vitiligo, where the body's immune system attacks their own melanocytes, damaging them beyond repair and causing parts of the skin to lose its ability to produce melanin. More commonly, however, it can come down to aging. Much like how people might start losing their hair earlier than others, or, you know, see some gray hairs start popping up before the age of 30. You can also start to lose pigmentation as your body's melanocyte count naturally decreases. This is extremely important because it means that over the course of your life, you will need to update your sun protection routine as your skin changes. And as always, make sure you are following the directions closely. Lucky for us though, we don't need me to tan in order to find out if the sunscreen is working. We're gonna feel the burn, baby. At this point, we were hitting our first hour, and I was feeling the heat, though you couldn't really see any changes on my skin just yet. And our UV cards were also still looking good and protected. Not a surprise, since our sunscreens are meant to last about 2 hours before needing to be reapplied. What wasn't doing so hot? My computer. As I sat there trying to write my script that was due by the end of the day, all I was actually doing was getting a warning that my computer kept overheating. Too bad they don't make sunscreen for laptops. It was gonna make hiding my staycation a little bit harder. Sooner or later, Justin was gonna be beating down my door for an update, but I'm sure it's gonna be fine. Fast forward to hour 2, which was the end of our safe period, and things aren't looking quite as peachy. And now that we've hit 2 hours, we have arrived in the danger zone.
I don't know, what do you think?
Was heating up and turning red.
Is she
A few
done?
of our quadrants were starting to look a little bit toasty.
You know, it's shiny at some parts,
the
but
oil and the stick. On our UV cards, we were seeing a similar story. So what I can
think I
tell
might
you
be done
at
with
2
this.
hours is that our lotion...
I don't care. I could be done, but I also could be high. I gotta stop fucking with it. Kind of like it how it is, so I'm gonna call this one done. Touch up the sides. I don't consider the side touching up to be part of the artwork. There we go. Where's your lid? Uh-oh. There. Alright. I fucked that up already. Yeah, I'm definitely a little bit high off the maybe. I didn't think there was a part on the side of that. I thought it was just like a regular empty cap, but I shoved that in and now I ruined it. Alright. Oh wait, I gotta finish painting that. Alright, here's the black.
Spray our gel and our milk are all holding up pretty well. Then you have our whipped and our spritz coming in at the next spot. A little bit less coverage, a little bit more of the purple peeking through, pretty much as our stick is. Curious! Remember that we made sure to apply the recommended amount of sunscreen not just on my legs, but on the cards
not
as well.
again.
Consider it our version of how the professional scientists test sunscreen before it goes to market. Though methods across the world can differ slightly, the general idea is the same. Scientists carefully measure out about 2 milligrams per square centimeter of skin. They then apply that to real people and use a fancy scientific machine to precisely expose them to different amounts and types of UV light. The next day, their burns are analyzed and a sunscreen's true SPF is calculated. In our case, our UV cards are acting as our machine, showing us the UV radiation in real time. Clearly, the majority of our sunscreens were holding up, but could they last? You see, not only does our test today let us see which form of sunscreen works the best, it's going to help us see which one stops working first. And based on the results so far, it's not looking good for our stick and oil, or my stripes. People just keep going, oh no, Amy, the weird suntan lines that you're gonna have. I'm like, there are worse things. I think I can rock a zebra leg, right? That can be fashionable. We'll just have to wait and see if that's actually true. And to see which of our sunscreens will protect us the best, we need to push them to their limit and go for another 2 hours. I spent the time taking meetings from my lounge chair and making friends with the local wildlife. Turns out, humans are not the only ones who like the smell of vacation sunscreen. You want to see who else really likes our sunscreen? Dun 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 dun. Bug! Just enjoy your Chardonnay oil, friend. And let me stay over here. Cool, cool, cool. We're gonna move our seat for just a little bit. Be right back. After moving my seat to give our bug friend some well-deserved space, I settled my legs into another clear patch of sunlight to wait out my remaining time, surrounded by the calming sounds of my apartment's public pool. In the home stretch, I was really starting to feel the burn. Like, I am feeling a lot of burn on my legs in a way that I wasn't before. The sun is about the same, which makes me think that the sunscreen is actually starting to wear off. And we'll see our burns coming in pretty swift. Okay, I'll see you in about 40 minutes. Well, more like an hour and 40 minutes. To make sure we got clear results, after finishing my last stint in the sun, I went inside to cool off and let my skin settle. That way we would really be able to see our well-earned stripes. And it also let me cool off my laptop and give me time to catch up on all the scripting I missed out on that day. Team Staycation is not getting caught today. I was truly feeling unstoppable. I'm working late, 'cause I'm a theorist. My skin is burnt to a crisp. Call me Sabrina. We'll do a duet. My tone-deaf singing aside, it was soon time to peel the tape away and see what we were really dealing with. And I was very surprised by what I found hiding behind all that tape. Let's take a closer look at these results. Overall, the results are pretty similar across the board, or legs, with only a few outliers. Despite our initial findings, the oil didn't end up looking any worse for wear than any other option. When it comes down to which ones actually did the worst, this is how I'd rank our findings. In third place, you have the spritz, which ended up with a bit more discoloration, but still held out pretty well, at least compared to our other two. In second place, you have the spray, which if you look closely, you can see that we had a few majorly burned areas. I think I may know why. But first, we need to talk about our top loser in this experiment. In first place, for the worst sunscreen of all of our options, the stick. I mean, clearly. Just look at that section. I am going to be feeling that for weeks. From the beginning, the stick was not sticking to its promise to protect my skin. The UV cards told us the same thing. The stick ended up looking most like our control, with the most purple showing through than any other option. When you consider the fact that the stick is actually one of the higher SPF products that we tested today at SPF 45, I have to wonder, what happened here? Well, there are two potential answers, so let's take them one by one. Answer number one, the ingredients. When it comes to sunscreens, there are things called active ingredients, which are the ones doing the heavy lifting and actually protecting you from the sun. The key ones I'm going to be looking for fall into two categories. Our physical blockers like zinc or titanium oxide, which form a physical barrier that reflects UV rays away from the skin. The other are our chemical blockers, which absorb the UV radiation nutrition before it can reach your skin. Taking a closer look at the ingredients of all 8 of our options, it turns out that the stick is actually pretty good. When it comes to having the most active ingredients, our stick comes in 4th place, right in the middle of the pack.
I know what I want to
usually
make.
going from the 1st place to 4th place is a bad thing, but for our stick, it's actually a positive. And the 2 options that come in at
me to
the
give a fuck
very
about.
bottom of our ingredient rankings
Okay.
are the Sprint.
I know what I want to do with this.
I got
I know what I want to do. I don't know if I can do it, though. Go Pinterest board. Show me that picture I saw 3 weeks ago. That's still stuck in my head and will look nothing at all like I have. Oh, God, that's horrifying. Alright, I have the inspiration. This is simply complicated. Okay. Side profile pic of skeleton. noticeably bigger. I haven't done this in so long. Trying to feel myself up to see how my bones go. It's not working. I'm busy. Shoulder blade is surprisingly high on the back. I need a bit more. I need some more of this. Erase. Yeah, that's that bone right there. So this does stick out further than it. That moves that down. These are, if the jaw is attached, then the neck is the right size, but there's going to be no lower jaw. This one is called Silence, and it's going to be silent because he doesn't have a lower jaw to talk with. It's supposed to be horror. What do you want from me? Okay, here's the back. I need another marker. This is what I wanted, but this is the only one I have. Alright, I need another pen. I need a different color pencil. Wait, where are all my color pencils? Right there. Ooh, how about a lovely green to play with? Lovely. Alright. Let's see now. It's going to be here, so you're going to have a bone going here. And over that is going to be whatever this bone is. I don't have to be atomically correct. I'll calm down. Ribs can just rib. The ribs are just going to rib. So that means that's the collarbone, or the collarbone. And that's going to be here. That means they're more like guidelines. Hi, Brookie. Don't know if you're still there, but welcome, welcome. I'm trying this thing called artwork. I don't think it's going to end well, but we're going to try it anyway. That was not the color I intended to put down first, but apparently it's what we're going with. We're just going to put red down, I think. We do 2 of these base sketches, and then when I have more ambition, maybe tomorrow night. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. actually, we're gonna add black to this. This black does cover a lot more. Red is such a hard color to cover. That is the shoulder blade all the way down to here. It's going to be the hardest part, I think, between the ribs. I'm giving myself a lot of room to work with, but that's okay. We're just blocking out tonight. How do you paint a skeleton? You paint all the parts that aren't a skeleton. Yeah, I know it's a stupid thing to say. Well, I'm probably in the wrong place, but oh well. So I got silence, paranoia, and anxiety. Yeah. I've set my names for my pieces. It looks like I put effort. I mean, I did put effort in, but I didn't stress about the amount of effort I put in. Oh, Dennis, I'm so sorry you're tired. I know exactly how you feel. I just come off a 12-hour shift at work, and I gotta do another one, but I wish my art paid bills, but it does not pay anything. It pays for itself, and that's about it. I am trying to get monetized on my YouTube channel, but I need more people to watch, because I need 4,000 hours, and I'm over halfway there. So I just need, like, a couple people to put these live streams on and then, like, go to work and just let them play for, like, 6 or 7 hours. So I can get my last 1,000 hours, but we'll get there eventually. Oh yeah, I was listening to something. Let's go back to that. Okay, I guess I lost it. No, I don't do that. Let's do hair grow products.
Is that your engagement ring? He was always up to something. Such a larrikin. I said yes before he could even speak.
A delicious small premium roast coffee at McDonald's is still just $1 plus tax, which means you can enjoy great tasting coffee every single day. Rich, full-bodied flavor at a price that's just as satisfying? Must be McCafe.
And realize that you've lost all of your hair? Yeah, me too. If you want to find out how to save your hair and stop the hair loss nightmares, keep watching. Hello, Internet. Welcome to Style Theory, the show that's pulling back the curtain bangs to uncover the secret to stopping hair loss. More than 80% of men and nearly 50% of women deal with hair loss over the course of their life. This comes in the form of thinning hair, receding hairlines, and yes, even the big one, going bald. But hair insecurity isn't limited to just the top of your head. For some, it's on their face. As we saw in our first shaving episode, not every beard grows the same. Many people struggle with patchy facial hair, while some don't get any at all. So if you are dealing with any hair loss, know that it runs in your family, or you're just looking to be prepared for whatever the future may bring, worry not, because Team Theorist is on the case. Now, I am no stranger to sharing my deepest, darkest insecurities here on the channel, and neither are the rest of our team of hair growth volunteers. For the next 10 weeks, we will be giving you the close friends treatment and bringing you along as we try to unlock the secret of what can turn our bare skin into a wonderland of hair growth. To make sure where we really find the answer to what works and what should go into the garbage, we are going to focus specifically on topical treatments for this episode and break them down step by step and ingredient by ingredient. These are the most accessible and affordable options for people to test at home. We'll break down those specifics in just a moment, but first, let's dive into week 1 to find out why our volunteers, well, volunteered. I consider myself a complicated hair person. So if you can't tell, I just put my hair through a lot.
I don't have enough
Like a lot. My hair is a trooper. I've been blow drying my hair since I was like in elementary school. My mom would blow dry my hair and like blow dry my bangs before school. And then I started dyeing my hair in high school and I never really stopped. I've been flat ironing my hair also since high school because I really wanted straight hair. Not gonna lie, that is a lot of hair damage. But that wasn't the biggest issue I was hoping to tackle with this experiment. So I went through a period of time at the end of high school where I lost a ton of hair due to health issues. And ever since, I've been trying to build my hair back up from that, and it's, you know, to varying success. It is pretty thick. Like, I've always had really thick hair, but I've always been very concerned ever since that time in my life about making sure I maintain that hair. I come from a family of the deep V, you know, the Dracula V. This is when your hairline starts to recede, specifically at the left and right corners of your forehead, giving you that signature vampire V shape. It's not quite a widow's peak, but you get the idea. Lately, I've started to worry that those edges are getting even thinner and a lot deeper. I'm really just looking to feel a little bit better about my hair health and my ability to, like, pull my hair back and not feel like I'm always showing a giant bald spot, even though it's not a bald spot. Well, not yet. Whether this is genetic or a byproduct of the damage my hair has gone through for actual decades, we may never know. But while I love being a vamp, I am not looking to have hair like one. Stephanie and Rachel expressed similar, though less spooky themed concerns.
But I have big spots right here on the sides of my head especially that feel very thin a lot of the times. It's really hard for me to get to grow like really thick hair in these areas, and anytime I lose hair, it comes like straight out of that zone. So I feel like I have just like this bald patch on the side of my head, and it's really upsetting.
Rachel, my fellow hair dye addict, also had concerns about how the long-term hair damage had changed her hair growth patterns.
I have had such a complicated relationship with my hair, and I have put it through quite a bit. I have dyed my hair a few times up until college, and then I, during COVID, just bleached the whole thing and went pink for a few months, and then that turned red, and then I bleached it again and it turned blue, which turned green, and then I went back to pink, and then at the beginning of this year, I was like, I need to stop. Because I fried it all off, I started to deal with male pattern baldness over the last year or so, and a lot of women don't talk about this. I think it's pretty common.
It is indeed, Rachel. We are all in this together. And speaking of male pattern baldness, let's hear from the men in this experiment. Fun fact, we did try to get some of our male identifying theorists to participate in the hair side of this experiment, but no one was prepared to put their precious hair on the line. Beards, however, were fair game. Dan, a frequent face on this channel, wanted to bulk up his beard hair.
I understand that there are better beards out there, but I look worse without facial hair, in my opinion. You saw it during the shaming episode. I think I look better with some facial hair, and so I would like to feel more confident in the facial hair that I have.
And our second beard bro, Tom, was also looking to fill in the gaps. Weren't you, Tom?
Amy's forced me to be a part of this experiment.
Excuse me? That doesn't sound quite right. Let's try this again. Tom, didn't you ask me to be in this episode because you really wanted to see if you could finally grow a beard?
I say forced, no, I quite willingly volunteered because I want a beard. I don't have a beard, and it makes me so sad when I see people like Santi who have such glorious beards.
Aw, don't be jealous, Tom. You are doing great, sweetie. Just remember that Santi refused to participate in this episode because he was too scared to see himself without a beard. I call that a point for game theory. At the beginning of our hair journey, here is where each of our participants is starting off. We'll use these photos to compare our results at each check-in and see how our hair growth progress is coming along. Now, I mentioned that our experiment is going to help us
And then
isolate
paint the
what
teeth. I
products
should have painted the
actually
entire
work,
background.
which are full of empty
White.
promises. To do this,
And
we
then I
will
wouldn't
all
have
be
had to
using
white
the
the
same
teeth.
products, but
Because
each
now I need to
person
touch
will
up the
have
teeth.
a unique hair growth routine. On Team Hair, we will all be using Rogaine, one of the most popular and recommended topical hair growth treatments to do at home.
Sometimes we just make ourselves do extra work, and that's okay.
So I'll let you know suddenly it feels like my hands on fire because of the Rogaine. But this is a fun thing. I'm gonna go wash my hands because I don't want to end up in a werewolf situation. Before this turns into an off-brand Teen Wolf situation, let's get back to the routine. Rogaine's main active ingredient is minoxidil, which is a vasodilator. Oh, you don't know what a vasodilator is? Don't worry, because neither did I before this episode. Vasodilators are medications that open up your blood vessels. This causes your hair follicles to turn down for what? All that new blood flow and stimulation causes your hair to start producing thicker strands of hair protein. Oh yeah, those luscious locks that you love to style and show off, it's mainly made up of a protein called keratin. And it is technically dead. Once the hair your roots, which brings us to the next step of our hair routine, the biotin shampoo and conditioner. Biotin is a vitamin that helps produce keratin, and some studies say that having a biotin deficiency can lead to hair loss. Using biotin hair products is said to help nourish your hair follicles and help promote that keratin production, leading to more hair. We'll use this for any and all hair washes moving forward. Now for the differences in our routines. Stephanie and I would be adding a step with our handy dandy derma roller. This mini torture device is basically a roller ball made of needles. You then rub those needles on your scalp to help stimulate blood flow. Or at least that's what the packaging says, but this is what actually happens. You know when someone tells you that they found ants in their house or like in their room, and suddenly you just feel ants everywhere, all over your skin. You feel the ants crawling on you everywhere, and suddenly it feels like they're in your hair and crawling all over your head and like making a little nest in there. And that's how it feels. It kind of feels like ant itches all up and down my head. Not sure how I like that, but I'm willing to give it a try. I think I'll get used to it, but right now it just makes me think there are ants all over my head. Good start. Steph was also feeling the ants.
It starts off where I'm like, this isn't doing anything. This just feels kind of scratchy on my head. And then 3 hours later, my scalp is really itchy, it feels tingly, it definitely does something, but it's like a delayed effect.
As a final step, Stephanie would also be using a biotin hair mask every 3 showers. A hair mask is basically like if a normal conditioner went Super Saiyan. It's more powerful and hopefully packs a big punch of hair growing nutrients. Over on Team Beard, we had a similar setup. While beard hair is usually more coarse and has thicker strands than head hair, it grows the same way. So we would once again be bringing a biotin product into the mix. Both beard bros would be using a biotin-based beard balm.
Oh, that smells great. I'm gonna be honest, it smells like...
Can I get a...
The new McVeggie. Now at McDonald's.
When life's got you double booked, there's McDelivery. Order on the McD's app to earn points and get a $0 delivery fee. An 11% service fee and $2 small order fee still apply.
This smells like man. You know the smell. What, the Sasquatch soaps and like all that sort of stuff? It's like, oh, it's cedar. It smells like outdoors. It smells like, starting a campfire and cooking a fish over it or whatever. It smells like that, but it smells delicious. Big win, Amy.
Unfortunately for Tom, being in the UK meant he didn't have access to all of the same products we do here in the US. So while Dan got the really nice smelling product, Tom got a different biotin balm that didn't really have any smell. But he did get the other product, the castor oil. And it was already having him second guess his participation in this experiment.
This is potent. I am smelling it. I know it's like just beneath my nose, of course I'm smelling it, but it is potent. And it is not the smell I enjoy.
It turns out that Rogaine and its active ingredient minoxidil are not FDA approved for using on your beard. Instead, the most recommended alternative is castor oil, which is also supposed to increase blood flow to your hair follicles similar to the Rogaine. However, not all experts agree that this actually works, which is why we're including it in our test. Tom, though, was clearly not a fan.
Because these are meant to be applied directly to beard hair, I could imagine it feeling nicer or different, softening the actual beard hairs if you had like a full beard, but I
did it anyway.
And so it's just my skin now just feels oily and greasy. I'm really hoping it doesn't cause me to break out.
Thank you for your sacrifice, Tom. We'll have to see for ourselves if it actually works, as both Tom and Dan added to their routine. In addition, Dan will also be joining Steph and I on our derma roller train. With products in hand, it was time for our test to really get underway. We had a long road ahead of us, Chad, and we needed to be ready for anything. Or as Steph put it,
Good luck to us all.
going into week 2, we were all still adjusting to the new routines. Some better than others.
My technique has changed a little bit. My adaptation has been honed in.
Oh god, it's all lumpy.
And I do.
What do I do with it? I can't do blue. It's such a blatant ripoff, even I can't stand it. I'm painting in purple. No. I've decided. Oh, nope. That one maybe. I like purple. Painting it purple.
Also feel like it's working.
Currently, right now, I don't notice much of a difference. Yes, when the product's in my beard, it does feel softer and less wiry, but as far as like growth is concerned, I haven't seen anything special happen. Like over here is a little more grown in, but like beyond that, there's not a whole lot else that has changed.
Oh, to be Dan and Rachel. Over on CD Island, Tom and I were struggling.
As I predicted, I have developed more acne because of all of the grease that I'm putting on my face. Like, it's hard to see because some of it's under where the facial hair is, but it's like particularly around my nose and some of like my chin and like cheek area. Like, some of it's kind of gone down now, but I went through an immediate phase of just like outbursts within like a couple of days. So that's not ideal for the confidence either. I can hope that it's worth it in the end, and I will have a glorious beard that will rival even Santi. But right now, that is not the case.
How dare that castor oil mar Tom's perfectly British face? It's truly an international incident. Meanwhile, while Tom was struggling with his acne, I was feeling a different kind of pain.
My hair follicles and stuff are very intricately connected to the well-being of my head. And so by that I mean it's like the follicles at the head actively ache. And what that does for me is like trigger headaches and nausea. I will get nauseous when my hair hurts, which is not super great.
The cause of my suffering? The derma roller. See, I didn't call it a torture device for nothing. Derma rollers stimulate your hair follicles by a process called microneedling, which is where the literal needles on the device create small microscopic tears in your skin. This triggers the body to begin its healing process, where it starts pumping more blood to your scalp, which is what we want to get our hair growing, but it also comes with all the stuff your body uses to heal open wounds. The stuff that will then cause your skin to itch. Stay with me for a second. Imagine the itch you get when a regular cut starts to form a scab. Now multiply that by 1,000. That's what's happening on our heads and faces when we use the derma roller. And it was making me sick. But, and this is all caps important, even though I was feeling unwell, because I was using a minoxidil product, I could not take any aspirin. Studies have found that since aspirin is an anti-inflammatory, it can potentially cancel out the effects of Rogaine by stopping an enzyme in our body called sulfotransferase from activating the minoxidil. It's basically the main enzyme responsible for flipping the on switch for the minoxidil and triggering your body to start producing more hair. However, I wasn't going to give up and I was ready to stick it out for the long haul. By the time we reached the end of week 4, my side effects had started to fade.
I don't feel it anymore, but I do think that like the hair dye did a bit more than the Rogaine so far. We'll just see as we keep going what actually is going to work.
Taking a look at our starting photos compared to our week 4 results, things were looking a little mixed. Rachel and Stephanie reported seeing some positive effects.
I feel like my hair has grown significantly. I've been getting a lot of compliments recently about how much my hair has grown, how long it is. So that's cool.
I've got lots of little baby hairs in this zone, but they're all like an inch long. It's very weird. But I do think they are coming in, and it looks like there are more of them. So that's exciting progress.
On the other hand, I wasn't seeing those results yet. Thankfully though, none of us Rogaine girlies were seeing any extra shedding, which is a possibility during the first few weeks of using minoxidil. But that was the only silver lining. Our beard bros weren't seeing any results yet either.
Day 28 of the experiment beard growth. I don't really have much to say. It's a lot of the same as before. I'm still doing the stuff. I'm still breaking out in acne, which is great. I'm getting less people now comment on the smell. I think people have just either adjusted or they've just given up trying to tell me I smell bad. So take that for what you will.
I'm still not noticing anything with these patches. Nothing's changed. I honestly worry that the main difference between what I was doing before and what I'm doing now is the vitamins. Even after this, like, if this proves to be totally bunk, I don't know if I want to spend the money to see if the vitamins are the thing that work, because it's a lot of money.
To quickly clarify, Dan here is not new to the beard growth treatment. He had tried a system a little while before this experiment, but it hadn't given him the big results he was hoping for, which is what brought him here to our topical experiment, sans vitamins. We'll have to see if, by the end of this episode, Dan finds that the topical method pays off better in the long term. It's important to note that while hair growth treatments can have results as fast as 2 weeks, typically it takes a few months to see those miraculous before and after results. For our experiment, however, we weren't looking to get the most miraculous results. We were looking to get proof that it was actually working at all, and which steps were giving the most benefits. It's just going to take a little more time. Entering into week 5, most of us were sitting pretty in the middle of the pack, taking all the small victories that we could find.
I haven't really noticed anything at all. Again, I still stand by the balm. 1, it makes my face smell great. 2, it makes my very wiry, thin beard a bit softer. At the very, very least, it is making my beard much more enjoyable to have on my face.
I am hopeful. I mean, my hair's gonna grow regardless of this, so it's hard to know if it's going faster or slower than it really was before. I am excited to continue, finish, and to see how much it really works in the long run.
I'm a little sad that we haven't seen any change to any of this so far, except they seem a little stronger. These little baby hairs just seem a little tougher, which is not actually what I was going for, but I guess that is a result. So, fingers crossed, we got a few more weeks to go.
However, we did have 2 participants getting some bigger results. Stephanie was on cloud 9.
I feel like it's come a long way. I still shed a lot for the record, but I actually feel this week that the stuff we're doing is really starting to work. I don't know exactly if it's the Rogaine plus the roller plus the shampoo, but my hair feels really good.
While Tom seems stuck in the deepest pits of...
Is that your engagement ring?
He was always up to something. Such a larrikin. I said yes before he could even speak.
That's much better in my eyes.
Deepest pits of Has-Been Hotel.
I will say, this has probably been the worst week for my personal confidence. I made a lot of jokes when we started because we were talking about like, oh, it smells funny and I'm breaking out in acne, but this week has been quite bad. I've had a lot of very, very bad acne this week, to the point where I've been very conscious about going outside and talking to people because I'm allergic to these big red marks on my face. We'll see, I guess. Hopefully it gets better, but I want the spots to stop. Please make the spots stop. Amy, please make them stop.
Okay. I can't let my favorite British buddy suffer. Let's see if I can pull a few magical timey-wimey strings and ha!
Huzzah! Amy, threatening you worked because my acne is finally gone. So thank you for making that stop. Appreciate it, friend. I don't know if that's my skin acclimatizing finally to this stuff or whether it is, it's just past and there'll be another wave of it soon. Yay.
Good to know that I can use my host powers for good. By this point, you may be wondering why it takes so long for anyone to see results. Yeah, it's not just us theorists taking our sweet time. It's the hair itself. The goal of hair growth products is to keep your hair in its active growing phase, also known as the anagen phase. The longer the anagen phase lasts, the longer your hair grows. On average, hair grows about 1/2 inch per month during this stage, totaling in at about 6 inches of growth per year. By keeping keeping this phase active with our products, we actually reduce a lot of our hair's natural deterioration that happens next in the catagen phase. Lasting about 1 to 2 weeks, this is the phase where your hair follicles shrink and detach themselves from the dermal papillae, which is the part of your skin that provides the oxygen and nutrients to help your hair grow. During this phase, your hair can feel and look thinner than usual. Next is the pesky telogen phase, also known as the resting phase, where your hair isn't doing anything. In addition to making our growing phase longer, our hair growth products are trying to make our resting phase shorter. Without those treatments, this phase can last roughly 2 to 3 months, though it's not all at once. About 10 to 15% of our hair strands are in the telogen phase at any given moment, which means each individual strand is doing its own thing and not operating as a full head unit. Then you have the last phase, which is the shedding or exogen phase. I am super familiar with this one because I have always shed like crazy. It's why I could never go into a life of crime. I just always leave evidence behind. Though I'm not seeing the evidence that our topical treatments are going to give us the definitive proof that we were hoping for. But they had one last chance to prove me wrong. Coming into week 8, things seem to finally be looking up.
8 weeks has come and gone with our old pal Rogaine. I think I'm a fan of her. I think she's doing a lot of good things for me.
I feel like I'm starting to see more hairs on my cheeks. My hair's normally quite dark, but I wonder whether it's actually I'm getting more or whether the stuff I'm getting is like thicker and darker, so it looks more substantial.
Tom, take a lesson from Steph and let yourself have the win.
2 months ago, I was not feeling great about my hair, and I also didn't think that I would be able to make this much progress toward feeling better about it in this amount of time. I haven't historically been a big believer in hair masks in general, and now I actually feel like my hair is soft and full and thicker.
As happy as I was for all of my friends, I was still stuck in camp no progress.
I am at this point just a little bit disappointed because I really want this to work for me. And maybe it's something to do with my hair type. Maybe it's something to do with my, hair routine. I'm not sure, but I really was hoping that this would work more for me. That being said, we still have a little bit of time left. Fingers crossed that we see a big boom in the end.
And I wasn't the only one feeling disappointed.
Honestly, I don't think it's doing much still. I'm kind of a little frustrated.
I'm gonna say I did something tonight and call that done. Well, I got the eyeballs done, so the first one's more chaotic, but the eyes are bigger, so I can hold more detail. Can't believe I fucked up that marker just like that. Oh well. I'm calling it a night. Thank you guys for stopping by, and I will see you again.